Well, thank you for clicking on my video. If you watch the video, you'll find out how vitamin K2 particularly will help you, and find out how it works in your body, and have some things to discuss with your healthcare professional, and find out what I do with vitamin K2. So moving on to the disclaimer. Why a disclaimer? Well, it is important to note that vitamins, everyone says we can't do any harm with it. Vitamins can have different effects. So if you are somebody, for instance, who takes warfarin because you need to thin your blood, vitamin K2, even if you take it for reasons of cardiac health, vitamin K2 itself can still add to clotting. So you need to take that sort of thing into account. And I'm not medically qualified. I have a degree in physics but not medicine. I happens to be, I've been a member of parliament. I am a tech entrepreneur and a musician, but I'm not a doctor, and this is not medical advice. And I've studied the issue of micronutrients, particularly to improve my own health, particularly sleep. And I produced this video to be helpful to others with my research. My channel is not monetized and I'm not sponsored, although I do have a patent application at the moment on an issue which will be discussed at some stage. And you do need to discuss the information about in this video with your healthcare professional, because some people should not take extra vitamin K of any number. Anyway, moving on to vitamin K, and this is particularly K2, but vitamin K exists in many forms, and there are two main forms: K1, which is called phylloquinone, and K2 called menaquinone. And we look here at the shapes here for, let me go into twirl these ones around a little bit. This one is the vitamin K1. This is what's called MK4, and this is what's called MK5. And if we go and look on PubChem, we can see details about vitamin K and its chemical formula, which is there, and we can see details about different types of K2. So vitamin K here is vitamin K1. Vitamin K2 is also called menaquinone or menatronone. It's all the same thing, menaquinone 4. And vitamin K2 comes in a number of forms. And you can see here menaquinone 4, which is the formula C31H4002. And we have here menaquinone 5, which is C36H4802. And in fact, if we go back to this page here, you'll see there's actually MK4, MK5, MK6, MK7. Now, if we can get these to rotate nicely so that you can see it, you can see in a sense there's a bit of a shape of on that bit on the front there of that vitamin K1, which is the same for all of these. And then on this one here, we've got that sort of same shape with the two oxygens, like the red things either side of it. Let me just turn those down a bit. And then here, this one, which is MK5, again, it's got the two oxygens and that thing, but then what you have are bits added on called isoprene residues, and those have a number of carbons and various other things. And that the number of those bits added on is the MK number, so MK4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, you can only actually get vitamin K2 as a supplement either with 4 isoprene residues, 7 isoprene residues, or 9 isoprene residues. But different types of cheese, depending on whether they're fermented or not, and all sorts of things, different types of cheese can have all sorts of different quantities of different types of vitamin K2. And the thing about it is vitamin K1 acts slightly different, well, materially differently to vitamin K2, and the K2s do slightly different things, which can make it all a bit confusing. And when you have, if we look at menatronone here, or menaquinone 4, or vitamin K2, it's got all of these different names, and it's still just the same thing, the chemical formula in exactly the same structure. However, let's look at what they do. Vitamin K1 really is blood clotting. Vitamin K2 can also affect blood clotting, but it's very important when it comes to bone and calcium health, and also, particularly for the MK7, mitochondrial electron transport. And there's a subtle difference between MK4 and MK7 on calcium. That is, for instance, MK4 is quite good at creating nice bones, and MK7 is quite good at getting calcium out of soft tissue. So if you've got calcium hardening your arteries, MK7 can help doing it. There's a question about whether the calcification of the pineal gland can be reversed to some extent by MK7. If it does it, it's very slow. I think it might do it, but extremely slowly. The electron transport issue is interesting, and I'll come into more details about that soon. Many people find that MK7 gives them quite a bit of energy, which is a good thing in one sense, except it keeps you awake at night, which is not such a good thing. If we look at it, the issue of the mitochondria are the mechanism for turning the energy that's in glucose, the main source of energy for the body, into energy used by the body, mainly adenosine triphosphate, which they're called the powerhouse of the cell. And there's the Krebs cycle, or the citric acid cycle, is how various chemicals are converted into each other. So it starts like with citric acid. If people are talking about the alpha ketoglutarate, that's part of the Krebs cycle as well, as is malate. So when you're talking about supplementing with ketoglutarate, be it calcium ketoglutarate or arginine ketoglutarate, you're actually adding to the Krebs cycle. And obviously if the Krebs cycle's running quite nicely, that's quite good for generating more adenosine triphosphate. And the electron transport, there's an additional way of moving an electron around which is available from MK7 particularly, but I find that increases my heart rate for a period of time. A number of people find it gives them quite a bit more energy, but that, as I said, is not necessarily so helpful at night, because the more energy in your neurons makes you think more and sleep less. Never tried to calculate how much more energy. I think it's an area that could do with some study, but it's definitely something to try out, but at a time when you don't mind if you're not going to sleep, and try it in the morning, because that way if you have a sleep problem it'll be less, because you'll have metabolized some of it a bit more. So dosage, well, MK4 again is very good for putting calcium into bones and has been used to deal with osteoporosis. MK7, you can actually handle that with a smaller dose. It seems to have more of an effect. And MK9, you can get a supplement for it. There's not a lot of information about it, what it does, or even whether it does any harm. But it probably doesn't do any harm, but we don't know the situation on that. Coming back to the issue of bones, it's worth being aware that for bones you need to get your vitamin K2 right, which probably means also having MK4 and MK7, your vitamin D3 right. And in fact, melatonin is an issue with bones. Melatonin helps particularly with the cells that create new bones. Bones actually do renew themselves, but as people get older, the cells that reduce the amount of calcium in bones keep going quite merrily, and the cells that create the new bones, probably because people have less melatonin, they aren't operating so well, which is why you tend to get osteoporosis. So if you've got a good level of melatonin and some vitamin K2, particularly MK4 in this instance, it helps to maintain the strength of bones as people get older. So that's a helpful thing to do. So I did say, what do I do with vitamin K2? Well, I'm actually taking vitamin K2 myself, both MK4 and MK7, and MK9 in fact. MK4 to strengthen the bones, and MK7 in a hope that it'll reduce the level of calcium in the wrong places, so reduce the chance of a stroke and reduce the chance of other cardiovascular disease issues, and also hopefully to increase the amount of melatonin my pineal gland can produce by decalcifying the pineal gland. Is it doing it? It might be doing it. I've been doing it for some time, and it does seem to be gradually producing more melatonin, but I can't guarantee that. So I definitely would recommend trying these out, but remember, check it with your healthcare professional, because if you're on things like warfarin, you shouldn't be doing it, because it could actually impact badly on other aspects, clotting and things like that, and you might not want so much. Now, there are some references here which are good references. I'll put these in the the comments section on YouTube so people can look at these. On my blog I link to a lot of useful information about vitamin K2 as well, so and looking into a bit more detail. I can also keep that updated as we go along. So, well, thank you for watching my video, and I hope you found it useful.